Pappy Hour, let's talk it now. What's it like? What's life all about? Oh, Pappy Hour, say your piece. Laugh at yourself, slap your knee.
Recorded at Flipside Theater in Superior, Colorado, this is Pappy Hour with your hosts, Lucas Buddy and Eric Thompson.
Welcome back. It's Pappy Hour time.
Hey, Pappies. Today we had on the show Stephen Menyhart. This guy was a gem.
Oh, man. Lifetime of...
How dare you, Siri?
Siri!
You got right in the middle of our intro. I'm going to leave you in there just to shame you.
Because that's just what happens in life. We get interrupted. But yeah, Stephen, big, serious rugby player, did lots of travel before kids.
Yeah.
And then kids and still active in supporting high schoolers. And boy, some great stories, great feedback.
Registered dietitian, talked about eating disorders. Typically we think about that being just young women, but men also deal with that stuff.
Yeah, and that's most of his clientele. And it's very interesting, and you guys will hear, look it up at some point. We're going to have links if this is something you want to learn more about. Yeah,
and also, as I mentioned in a couple of episodes, please give us a shout out on the Pappy line. Give us a shout out on the email. If you know a dad whose story needs to be told, or if you know that your story is something you want to share, let us know.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Or if you have something you want to say kind to one of the dads that are on here, or just something kind you want to say about your own dad, leave us a message 100%. On the Pappy line. I'll leave the number up. We might even play it on one of the episodes.
And something that stuck out to you that you really appreciate, let us know. If there's something that we need to improve on, give us some feedback. We'll probably we'll keep it and we'll take it. We'll use it. It's
and
helpful.
If you really like what we're doing here at Pappy Hour, check out our Patreon page. We do have one. You just search Pappy Hour. You'll be able to see us. You'll know us by our logo.
Yeah.
We have a little membership thing you can do. Throw us a little love there. And search Pappy Hour at Pappy Hour on Venmo. You can also throw us a little love there. Thank you guys and gals and everybody so much for listening. Enjoy Stephen Menyhart.
All right, let's do it.
A little bit, so it's a little browner, a little duller.
Yeah.
But it's not bad. It's definitely good. So
nice.
So yeah, guys, give me the rundown. Let me know what's the...
Yeah, you're just gonna speak right into that right there. I think we're good. I just need to pull mine a little bit closer. Oh, there's that sexy booming voice.
Yeah. Give it to me.
Wow, you have a carrying case for your little shot.
Well,
there?
So my Oma, my grandmother, and my mom said, "Tell me when we should start recording."
No, we're going. Yeah.
We're in.
So my Oma, we called her Oma. She was Dutch, and she would always, as a kid, we'd go to visit England, and we'd be there in her little house, and it could be any time of day. It might be 1 PM, 5, after dinner, before dinner. She'd say, "Stephen, could you just go get me a thimble full of whiskey?"
Thimble of whiskey.
I brought a thimble full. But then when you came to pour it for her, you'd start pouring, and she'd say,
well, a little more. Yeah.
But in her mind, it's just a thimble.
Just a thimble.
So
right.
That's why I brought that in
Yes.
of Oma. So.
That's so great.
I love that. That literally is a thimble full of...
It's probably what we should all be drinking per the dietarian health.
Yeah,
that's
true. Yes, because you are a registered dietitian.
Indeed.
So we have an expert on a lot of things, nutrition here today.
And what we also found out, he's understands design. We're at Flipside Theater, and
what was it you called it?
I just entered a really cool space. I wouldn't call it cavernous. It's a modest space.
Yeah.
I just felt immediately the vibes a cross between dorm room chic and superior dad.
Yeah, there we go.
Dorm room chic. So yes, this is... Yeah, one day we'll have a picture of this place, and you will all be very impressed. So, yes, dorm room chic. All right, well, thanks, man. Thanks for coming in here. This is great.
Yeah.
And so, take us through your life ahead of kid or kids.
Yeah, who were you before you became a dad?
Yeah, I was thinking about this one. I did look through the prompts briefly in my car while doing something else. So I feel like I got the nugget of each one. And this one I did think about. I thought it was better to give a couple quick representative examples as opposed to
This is your show, man. You go wherever you want to go.
The challenge of it all. Yeah. But I'm wearing this jersey today because this is an example of the kind of thing I would do before kids, before children. In 2007, I played for a rugby team in Chicago called the Chicago Lions Rugby Club. I have traveled the world playing rugby as a young person for 15 years. Played with the London French, played with teams in Michigan where I grew up and in Chicago.
Fantastic.
But the Chicago Lions also had a long touring tradition that had kind of fallen by the wayside, going to other countries, playing multiple matches, getting hospitality. And it just so happened that our club's the time frame lined up with the Rugby World Cup in 2007. So we're talking about like the highest level of rugby.
Yeah. Wow.
France is just besieged by foreigners.
Totally.
Funny talkers of all stripes, Kiwis, Aussies, South Africans. Everybody came to France. The Swiss came just for the spectacle.
Yeah.
So, and we actually had a few teammates playing on the club.
Oh,
this
fantastic.
Side. And so we were able to support the U.S. team in their playing in southern France in Marseille. We went to Bayonne and Biarritz, like the Basque region of France.
Yeah.
Which for me, with my chef background and working as a chef for many years, that was some of the best cuisine I'd always wanted to try. So we were able to combine rugby with food. And
that's great.
Indulgence and song. And so beautiful experience. And that's the kind of thing I would somehow find the bandwidth to, sometimes to the frustration of my wife, because, I was the guy who was always volunteering for stuff and always trying to do things and spend a lot of time out and about. I also worked as a line cook. So if you caught me in my 20s, I'd be working as a line cook. My most formative restaurant was called Fortunato. Excuse me. It's no longer there. It was over at Damon and Division in Chicago near Wicker Park. And I just worked with the most amazing set of cooks. I'm still in touch with these men and women 20, 25 years later.
Jeez.
We just had such a great team, amazing crew. And, and actually that was one of the places I learned about being a dad, because I worked with my friend Ray Stannis. And shout out to Ray, one of the golden people in my life still.
Nice.
And he had young kids, and all the rest of us were like, what's that like?
Yeah, no doubt.
And he's like, back to work.
Back to work. Yeah.
I'd like to
time
be
for
home.
this shit.
Yeah, I'd like to be home to see him. So why don't we end this one?
Finish it. That's funny.
So, so that same restaurant, last mini vignette, and then we'll move on, is one of my other formative memories I still relate as I do culinary trainings, because I do train people in the kitchen now. And I had the chef there, amazing person, Jennifer Newberry. I very distinctly recall I had about 25 onions in front of me, and I was peeling them carefully. And I called her over, hey, chef, should I peel the first layer of onion or that second layer? Because, sometimes there's a second or third layer, and you're like, I don't know, how's it going to be? And she said to me, look, Stephen, if you have time to think about that, you're not working quickly. Just do it.
Just peel the fucking onion.
Which was a little bit of that old school chef mentality that I still enjoy and appreciate in some ways, the good parts of it.
Yeah. And in a way, the lesson there, and tell me if I'm on to it something here, but it's peel the onion and you'll figure out eventually, when you do enough of them, which layer is important.
Yes, use your experience.
Yeah,
exactly.
Into it a bit.
It's less about which layer and that the onion gets
don't
peeled.
overthink it.
Don't overthink it. Just do it.
Go, baby. Yeah.
And my last thing is, because so many people now have a touch point, they think they have a touch point of working in restaurants in Chicago because they saw The Bear, all the seasons.
Right.
So I just want to clarify one thing. Like, many things about The Bear are very accurate, very precise. Some line cook friends of mine can't watch it because of the PTSD of the sound and the pressure and everything. But what I would say is, if you think watching The Bear is like working in a restaurant in Chicago, it's more like, imagine watching The Bear on repeat 12 hours a day.
Oh, jeez.
With slight variations.
Yeah.
Like, that's more like it, right?
Oh,
with toothpicks in your eyes so you don't go to sleep.
Yeah. So it's a great profession, amazing people working it, so many humble professionals working behind the scenes. And
But I imagine burnout is massive. And then you're doing this. This is already heavy duty stuff. And then you're learning you're going to become a dad, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, okay, well, I should be totally prepped for this. I understand high stakes, everything. Am I right?
And thank you for that. And I think at the time my wife was a teacher, so we moved to Chicago. We moved from Michigan to Chicago at a time when jobs were much more abundant in our chosen professions, lots more opportunities. She was working as a teacher, though, so she'd be getting up at 6 a.m., grade papers, get to school, get home at 5 or 6, working in very underprivileged, challenged areas of high need. And it's like, she's on that schedule and I'm working, I go to work at like 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Like after not doing much or yoga or whatever I feel like doing. And then the only times we saw each other was at midnight, 1 a.m. And
that's
we're
tough.
both kind of at the rough end of things.
Right.
So how did you, never mind. I was going to ask how you made a child. I know how you make kids. I'm just saying, how did you find the time?
Well, so we let's think. So my very first experience segueing out of the restaurant industry, because I knew I needed to. I knew it was just a matter of time. Once we found out, or once we even decided to not try to have a kid.
Sure.
Is like, you never know when it might happen or not. But I was like, let me start to segue a bit. And so I ended up working. I actually taught a cooking class at the school where my wife was teaching. Passages Elementary. It was a school for recent immigrants in North Chicago.
Yeah.
And amazing school. And I actually taught like an 8-week cooking class with a curriculum. It was funded by a physician who wanted to do a healthier program in school. So that was kind of like first inkling step.
Yeah.
Then when we found out we were expecting, I was working at the time at a kitchen on the south side of Chicago called Gary Comer Youth Center. Gary Comer was the founder of Land's End Clothing Company.
Okay.
He grew up in a very underprivileged area of Chicago neighborhood, and he then poured millions of dollars back into the community resources after school enrichment. And amazing, again, shout out to GCYC. And what I was doing was managing a kitchen exclusively staffed by high school students.
Yeah.
So it was all like 15, 16, 17-year-olds from the neighborhood. And that was the day I got the call. I got the call that my wife, things were moving.
What was going through your mind and your body at that time?
Yeah, well, it was partly logistical because at that time I had my Schwinn Traveler single speed, and I was riding it down to the red line, throwing it on the train, and then riding it like a mile and a half at that end. And I only had the bike because we only had one car.
Yeah.
And of course I wanted my wife to have the car. But she's teaching about 35 blocks north of where I'm working in Chicago. So not a short distance.
Right.
So, I basically, as soon as I got to work one day on October 2nd of 2008, I realized as soon as I got to work, I got the call, and I had to jump on the bike and ride the bike to where she was working to get to the car to drive her home because she wasn't like able to or wanting to drive home.
Yeah.
But we had always heard it was good to go home, have a meal, a nourishing meal if you can, like relax, kind of like make it slow so you have energy to power whatever's next. So I rode my bike. I call it the fastest bike ride of my life because I was just so punished, just charged, like adrenaline beyond anything you know. Right? So I just like heading up there. I pick her up. We had a little time, even though the funny thing is the hospital where we delivered was like a couple blocks from where she worked on the south side, but we drove all the way home to the northwest side of Chicago to then go back. But we made, I remember very distinctly, I prepared a meal of pasta, simple tomato sauce, broccoli, and she ate that, and we headed right back out.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So this was on your way to meet your kid for the first time. So did you hit every red light on the way there? Or was it
that one?
Did you have your mother-in-law in the back seat? We just had a guy.
When my son was born 2.5 years later at the same hospital, it was white-knuckled February blizzard.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
This particular time, the first time, things seemed to be moving in a good direction.
All right, good.
Not much traffic, but you never know, so you got a buffer everything.
Yeah, you do.
True.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we arrived back at the hospital, Mercy Hospital, south side of Chicago. Our doctor, Dr. Porto, was incredible physician, way ahead of her time in actually supporting like older women having children. She actually wrote a book in the 80s, I think, called Women Over 40 or Childbirth Over 40.
Yeah.
Susan Porto, and she was just always very much embracing what does the person need, what does the individual need, which is really refreshing, and so that was good. But it was a long process. I mean, the very funny and laughable distinction is that in between contractions, we were watching a big television screen in the room. It was just the two of us on the screen, and it was the night of the Sarah Palin Joe Biden debate in 2008.
What?
So if anyone remembers this era, Sarah Palin, I mean everything about it. So we're basically watching the debate, and all of a sudden, okay, contraction, turn it off, pause, you're like, turn it off, go back, and then we're watching the debate. So, but at that point, there's so much going on that you almost want a distraction. I think it was a welcome distraction.
Yeah,
I'll never
totally.
forget, that was how we watched the debate
Joe
in
Sixpack.
when he was a young man and she was an upstart, had just hit the scene.
Oh, that's so funny.
Anyway, so.
Oh man, your recall of this time in your life is incredible. The details that you're pulling from this are pretty great.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it. I'm a very visual person, so things don't come to me. Like if my life's not a movie in memory, it's more like individual frames, which can be good and bad to have that sort of visual.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything went really amazingly well. And
then your kid shows up. And what was that like holding your kid for the first time? I mean, you've worked with children and kids and people and you've experienced a lot of life up until this point. Yes. But how does this moment in time affect you?
I just remember two overriding thoughts, I think, as they had swaddled her and given her to me was she's a lot smaller than I thought.
They're so tiny.
And don't mess this up.
Yeah.
Don't drop it. Don't drop it.
Right.
Don't mess this up. I mean,
please.
Both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're just going from here to here.
Yeah, very gingerly.
It's like, I can't let go.
Like robot arms.
Yeah, that's totally.
I've held a lot of babies. I come from a big family, and I thought I really fancied myself like a pro. And then my kid gets here, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, and let me add, my daughter was not on the small end of the birth weight. She was 9 pounds 3 ounces.
Wow.
So, like, robust.
Yeah.
And so, like, yes.
Dang.
Yeah. Well, that's coming from, obviously the culinary background for you.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to feed this kid,
Oh, yeah,
right?
definitely. I didn't even mention that. But yes, during my wife's pregnancy, both of them, I did feel that more of that like dutiful need to like think a lot about nutrition and timing
Yeah.
and food, but also there's cravings that develop.
Yeah.
We lived a few blocks from the greatest Italian ice in Chicago, Miko's
boy.
Italian ice. It was the heat of summer, August and September.
Oh,
Yeah.
boy.
And she ate a lot of Italian ice.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nice.
so you also have to yield to what's like just being driven. You're not going to get in the way of
No,
that
you're
train.
not.
Like going to get the Italian
No,
ice.
no, absolutely. I mean, like you said, the book that lady wrote, it's just like each individual person kind of is going to tell you what they need in some way or the other.
Yeah.
What advice would you give from a culinary background to new dads as far as like cravings and like ways they can help fuel their wives and even themselves as they're going through this process? Because we also need to take care of ourselves as we're going through this too.
Absolutely, yes. And I do a lot of this in my work as a registered dietitian. It's just general nutrition, healthfulness, and achievement for people. And I think you have to take it with a sense of humor and a grain of salt. My favorite book on the topic is called Hungry Monkey.
Hungry Monkey.
And it is a book it's a food critic, and he is experiencing the first year in his child's life.
Yeah.
And to give you the brief summary is like, he is like so incredibly focused that this child's going to eat everything and be the epicure beyond all epicure. And then there he is at like month 4, like feeding like little bits of sauce and being like, I just hope she eats
Just please
a little
don't
bit.
throw this on the floor.
Yeah.
So it's just, I love that perspective because yes, we all, I think, or most of us tried to make homemade baby food and like we're shoving yams and like collard greens in this mush, and then you give it to your kid and they're like,
It's just like,
We went to this fancy restaurant the other night. My wife just got this new job, and then it was like this 10-year anniversary, and these chefs that have been like on Top Chef, and they like bring out these beautiful. It was a course meal, and we brought our daughter with us, and she takes one bite of this piece of sausage, and she just goes, meh. She throws it on the floor, and I'm like, no, don't,
Yes.
nobody watch. Okay, it's great, we love it.
yes. And I think I want to emphasize that parents stress a lot about their children eating and their eating habits and behaviors. And of course, like that's love, right? So,
Yeah.
So there are many permutations of that. And there are many, of course, allergy, sensitivity, and things that develop, which is also a great fear, right?
Yeah.
As you're first feeding your child, I'm going to try and maybe sequence out these allergens. So
Yeah.
I can, but that 4 hours of waiting after your child has
Right.
eaten an allergen
That
for
can
the
be
first
really
time
stressful.
is like,
Yeah.
you're at the hospital on speed dial. So
No doubt.
there's all those moments of feeding that are tough and can be really challenging. So.
Yeah. What do you think is most important in those times? Like, is there a way, like, support, maybe communication with your partner or friends and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think talking to other parents is good, but I also think that in our age, I had a professor in college at Johnson & Wales, Janet Roslin, who would always say, nutrition is the most widely discussed and poorly understood topic on earth.
Interesting.
So I do believe, and I see it in my work as a registered dietitian, that many people get the bulk, if not all of their information from social media, from slanted articles that have a hidden agenda.
Yeah.
So to get to the truth of nutrition information, I think you have to go to trusted sources. You go to trusted sources like the Cleveland Clinic, the Mayo Clinic, Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. I mean, like there's research backed, but they're able to put it in digestible form.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so that's
And maybe we can possibly provide, I'm trying to compile a bunch of links for resources for dads that we can put in a specific place. So when
That
we're
would
talking
be a
about
great
that, maybe
one.
you could provide
And
that
last
for
thought
us.
that just flashed
Oh,
in my
do
mind
it, yeah.
is that my children's first foods were avocados and bananas. And I do think there's a beauty about those softer foods because they're able to, in some cases, maybe pick them up or help move them to their mouth, but yet there's not the choking hazard from some other foods. So I do endorse those as like a starting point.
Okay,
if your
nice.
child accepts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think I've only started, I grew up in California, but I started only kind of appreciating avocados recently. I was just like, that's just green paste. I was just like, that's Kermit the Frog in a blender. I was like, I'm not doing that. But I'm getting an appreciation.
Although, and I would caution on a serious safety sense, I would caution against hot dogs, even cut in different forms. I would caution against grapes, even kind of cut in different forms. Carrots, small baby carrots.
Yeah.
There are certain things that are known choke hazards. Tortilla chips, the little edges of tortilla chips. My daughter at one point choked on one in a park for some of the more stressful minutes, right?
Yeah.
So So there's certain foods that you definitely do want to be very careful or longer in integrating. So.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Is there an age that you would say, or is it kind of
They say
child
that
to
children
child?
can accept, the pediatric groups say that children can accept solid foods or semi-solid foods at ages like 4 to 6 months, but
Yeah.
that's just a rough guideline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Each child is so different in how they articulate the mouth and how they process foods that I would say just you kind of have to go a little bit back to intuitiveness.
Yeah,
or
yeah,
experience starts to see what works, what they gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Again, it's about being present and knowing your kids and just checking in with them constantly because they're all different. And
Right.
And then desperately eating the calories they left over on their
Yeah.
because you haven't like eaten all day. So you're like, avocado
You're
with
just
banana.
eating it. Yeah,
let's go.
totally. I'm eating it. Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun gaining a lot of extra weight once the kids were born and, leaving their food on the plate. So I got to eat this,
Yes, extra calories.
Yeah, so funny.
Because yes, we also have that part. Some of us in our minds of grandma or someone in the past saying, "Don't waste food. Don't waste food." So that is another thing I would say is I understand that mentality and that scarcity mentality, but I also think maybe take a pause before always thinking, "Don't waste food. This must be eaten."
Yeah,
I would say that.
Yeah. So you know what? We normally just go over what was it like to meet your kid, your very first kid for the first time. But you know what? I'm interested. You have 2 kids?
Yeah.
2 kids.
And it sounded like the second.
It sounded like there was some drama with
was a
this
little
when
bit
some
more
snow
intense.
going
Saw
on.
that, yeah.
What's that story
Well, it was a
like?
much shorter window. And I think there was an interesting thing at the time of people saying, well, watch out because sometimes the second one might come a little faster.
Yeah.
Right.
Like it might move faster and we're like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And then
We're gonna
Famous
go home
last
and
words.
I've got a great meal at home. We're gonna relax and then we'll go.
Yeah, so this was much more like an oh crap situation because we had no family in Chicago at the time. Nearest family's 3-4 hour drive. It's blizzarding middle of February. It's February 18th.
Oh boy.
And we also had a backup plan of who we were going to call to watch our daughter because our daughter was only 18 or 2 years old. So we couldn't just be like, see in a few hours.
Yeah.
So we had to have a backup plan.
Yeah.
We had called our first backup person were the people, our best friends in life. They lived above us,
Yeah.
right above us. They were out of town. They weren't living out. They were gone, Tennessee. We were visiting, Second person we called, another couple, good friends of ours down the street. They're out of town. They're not available. So we're like, okay, well, wait. We only had 2 options. So then we call, I will give her praise to this day. Her name is Sylvia, and she is like an angel provider, mother to many. She took care of our daughter for many months, many years. And she came over on like a moment's notice. And
Wow.
She popped over. Again, this is not family. This is not friends.
Right.
This is someone we employed and it was working with us and for us. And I just want to speak to her heart in that moment because, whatever she had, she put on hold. She knew how urgent the situation was.
Right.
She got to our house. We had to go, and she took care of our daughter in the only way that you could because our daughter was sleeping. So if she had woken up and some random person's in the house, that's not going to go well.
Yeah.
So it was the only person who could have been there in that time, and she came. And
That's
I
amazing.
thank her for this to this day.
Oh, that's terrific.
Great. So you find somebody to take care of
all the way.
So we're in an old early 2000s minivan, kind of like the one I rolled up into.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
2-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I'm like, how are the tires? But we're
Too late
just
now.
going. And
They're
so it's
spinning.
blizzard. It's blizzard to the point where, when you, if you're driving through a blizzard and your family's in the car, you're basically already white knuckling
Sure.
at any phase and your shoulders are flexed and you're just trying to look through the windshield into the snow as far as you can.
Just remember to breathe.
Yeah.
Yes, but then I'm also trying to have a relaxed, calm demeanor so that my wife.
Yeah, you want to
sitting
keep
next
cool. You don't
me
want to
is
stress
like,
them
That's
out.
all good. I got
Yeah. Oh, everything's fine.
So I'm kind of back and forth, and thankfully we get there within I think 90 minutes he was born. It wasn't that much time.
Wow. Did she get an epidural? Did she was no.
that's
no
not
And he
epidural.
was, I think, a bit larger. I think he was 9 pounds 9 ounces. So
You have big kids.
So yeah, he came in a hurry, and he's been going ever since.
All right.
Yeah.
That
All
energy, let's go.
Oh, come on.
Oh my gosh.
That's
and then,
great.
so did the 2 kids? We were chatting on this on a recent cast. How's their relationship? I mean, they're what? They've got to be 6.
So I'll actually talk about the first moment when my daughter met my son because she had this vague concept that this other person was going to come.
Yeah.
Because at 2, they're like already.
just like excitement.
Right.
And then so she came to the hospital, and I do recall my father-in-law brought her to the hospital, and she was so excited. And some of the more precious photos we have are
that's
like
great.
her holding him and having
Oh
like,
my God.
it's not the scared
great.
dad being like, don't drop it. She's being like, this is awesome. Like,
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
It's a real doll.
And so I remember that. And then they're still I'm really glad we had them. I know pregnancy is a different journey for everyone. And so,
Yeah.
it's not to be granted, and you just don't know what's going to happen. So I'm glad that they were born within a short proximity of 2.5 years.
Yeah.
2.5 years
Yeah.
apart. Both going to high school together now. Like, the bond is there, and I think that's one of the reasons we decided to have a second child is we wanted to have that bond. We both grew up with siblings and wanted that for
Yeah,
kids.
yeah.
So thankfully it was able to happen. So.
That's great.
Yeah,
And you said they're both in high school now? High school. Oh, wow. That's interesting time.
Someone told me a couple of years ago, no matter what happens, you just have to keep the relationship alive.
Right.
Yeah.
To keep the connection to your kids alive. Like, and I think, you could always, I think it's definitely a parental gray area. You meet a lot more gray areas because you don't know how much freedom to give them or not give them. And
Sure.
so if you deny or take away too many things, then there can be some real pushback that I think can endanger the relationship. So it's always a push and pull, and I think we trust them, and we occasionally disagree with some of their choices, and we voice that, and we have a conversation about it. Because I think what's more challenging, I think, is if you don't talk about things. If there's tension that's unspoken. I think so. I think we just try to talk and try to talk at least once a day, twice a day. And
I mean, talking about things is the most important thing. Having that clear line of communication, just being able to mention it and you not have to do it perfectly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of the things that we did with the kids growing up is just at the dinner table was a chance for us to always have a meal together.
Yeah.
Always saying, hey, what's your up of the day? And some people will do an up, a down, and then an area where you learn. But we just were like, let's keep it loose. This is where we really want to hang out. And it's fun because they would do it. They would sometimes initiate it, even in their teens. And we just had this family reunion recently, and it was just they brought it up with the table that they were at. So it was just
kind of like a Thanksgiving every day.
You got it. So it's really a fun thing, but it's a nice way to get a connection because sometimes our teenagers are just like, man, it was just a day, whatever. But it's all right. Well, tell me what was something that was all right.
And I was talking with my wife about this earlier. The emotionality piece and being the vessel for their emotionality sometimes doesn't change that much. Like to reflect when my children were 6 and 7. Well, there we go. But when they were, the emotionality would sometimes come out in very unexpected ways. Maybe it's a long school day. 8 hours in a school building for many is not that fun. And so then when they get home, it's okay. They're hungry, they're tired, they're upset, and they've been keeping a face on all day.
Yeah. And they're in a safe place where they can be there.
And sometimes that's hard initially to absorb and take, but I think that part doesn't change. And I think continuing to be that person and that person who can take sometimes the emotional elements is enough sometimes.
And what do you do for yourself? Because taking on that a lot, and you mentioned I think a lot of us feel that. I know I feel that sometimes of having to put on a brave face and keep calm and collected when really, we're human, so things get to us. Where do you find that release or that balance or how do you keep from losing your mind?
I can tell you it's somewhat of a formula. I don't have it perfectly down, but it's yoga as much as possible, if possible every day or every other day.
Yeah.
It's weekly therapy. It's having a therapist who I have a built rapport with, and I can really feel like I can talk to, and also pour things to, right? Yeah. You can't hold it all.
No,
have a place for things.
Yeah.
I think talking to family regularly, as opposed to let me call my family every 6 months. It's let me just touch base once a week about something small.
Right.
So I think that continuity with my own family communication.
Yeah.
And I don't know beyond that. I have good days and bad days.
That's an okay answer too.
There's days that are harder and days that are easier.
Yeah, without a doubt. Then because you were really a go individual as well. Now, are you still doing all that volunteer? Are you doing a lot of stuff with the kids' schools or anything like that? Or is it more, hey, I've got my career and I'm, just following what my kids are
thanks for
doing.
that question. I have noticed definitely that I get a bit nostalgic for the days of elementary school when it seemed to be that a lot of dads and parents in general could just drop off their kids and hang out for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then when you get to middle school, that starts to fade a little. And high school seems to fade a little more. And so I think you just have to become okay with that and, spend more time connecting with people more intentionally, I think, with friends.
Yeah.
And I think,
you know what, appreciate what you just said, that intentionality. You got to be intentionally purposeful in reaching out. Because I've found, as we were getting older as parents, the kids were getting older, there was so much more to think about. There was, as far as safety, they're driving now. We know that sometimes they go to a party and there's a substance there that could be around, and just kind of educating, asking them what they've got going on, but reaching out to other parents, because sometimes we don't have that connection, and if you're not checking in with others, you do start to become more frantic internally, just because you're just I'm doing this on my own, and that's
right.
What
and
you're
it goes
thinking.
back to parenting. You're never going to quite hit the mark. You're never going to hit the perfect middle, right? You might be a little too far here or here, and you have to be okay with a little deviance.
Yeah.
And back to your question real quick about the volunteerism. I mean, which I appreciated. I did used to volunteer more. I think now I'm pouring just more energy and time and commitment into my work, which is I work now as an outpatient nutrition counselor and dietitian for people with eating disorders and disordered eating.
Gotcha.
So there is a lot of emotionality. There's
Without
a lot there. And I do volunteer. My 2 volunteerisms I do keep, and I do want to give shout outs to, because both work in the men's mental health arena as well, is CHOW. There's a group called Culinary, Hospitality, Outreach, Wellness. It's a free group with many groups throughout the week. We have a men's group, Thriving Men's Group, on Wednesday nights for people in the food, beverage, and hospitality industry.
Nice.
So specifically targeted for that sector. And then I also do volunteerism for the Eating Disorder Foundation out of Denver, which also offers huge amounts of free groups. And I run a monthly men's group for men with eating disorders or with emerging eating disorders.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So that's where I pour that time. It's kind of very closely linked to my professional work.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And I'm sure a lot of the men that you speak to, there are probably some of them that are dads, and they're dealing with this stuff. And I think, when I think about some of the reasons why we started this was to be able to have conversations about things that are meaningful, because if you can talk about it, the Fred Rogers quote that I always bring up is, if it's mentionable, it's manageable. And just the simple act of having a conversation about something, normalizing something that's like, I think when I was growing up, my dad didn't really have conversations, even to this day, and he listens to this every week. So Dad, you know what I'm probably about to say is that whenever I call him, even no matter what his day is like, no matter what he's dealing with, I'll be like, how are you doing? I'm fine. I'm fine. And the depth and the subtext behind that, I think inside of that is locked away this potential for healing. And so I'm glad that you're doing these men's groups, and I want to be able to connect men that are listening to this to those groups. Just being able to show up and have a conversation. And sometimes it's just sitting while other people are having conversations and listening, and making space. And then when you're ready, you're there, and you know that it's okay because other people are doing it.
Yes, both of the groups I mentioned, you can absolutely show up. You don't have to be vocal and participate. You can kind of get a feel for the group, feel it out, because it is scary going into any kind of new group that's specifically devoted to mental health.
Right.
So,
and I think that's the other thing that we're promoting. It sounds like you're promoting it as well, is non-judgmental and really no shame. Really to get rid of that, right? And it really does make a difference in building that dignity back. Right. And so
and I would call it a reverse stigma in the eating disorder world for men, because there's still so many people that I meet and encounter daily who have a vision in their head as if the only people afflicted with eating disorders are like young women of a thinner nature.
Yeah.
Right.
So like there's like this perception or stereotype. And so men with eating disorders, including many which are not commonly known, like binge eating disorder, ARFID. Anorexia, bulimia, eating disorders not otherwise specified or not easily categorized. Orthorexia, fascination with healthfulness of foods. There's so many stripes within this, and it knows no boundaries across race, class, or gender. So eating disorders, are hard to come to terms with, and especially for men sometimes.
Right.
Are there any ways that you can help maybe some men that are listening to be able to help identify those, and any advice that you can give them as far as like reaching out and asking for help, or even maybe the fine line for the people that love them of when to maybe offer them a unique way to offer them help?
Yes, understand. And yes, one part is knowing that there are many resources out there, including the Eating Disorder Foundation. Another is the very interesting thing. If I ask 100 men, if they have disordered eating patterns, I'll probably get like 95 yeses. So that the sense is if there's like something that maybe seems a bit wrong, but it's just what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if I ask 100 men if they have eating disorders, maybe 99 will say no.
Yeah.
Like there's some sort of disconnect there. So I think we can all benefit from better education, better understanding and awareness of how we got to where we are nutritionally.
Yeah.
And that's my best advice.
Yeah.
Okay. So educate yourselves.
Educate.
Yeah.
Well, this is great, man.
Oh my gosh, this
Appreciate
has
you
been
coming on,
wonderful.
and this has been a wonderful conversation. I really
and we'll
appreciate
provide those links for everybody in your episode description.
Yeah.
And did you have time to think of a dad joke? Do you have one?
Yeah, so I have one that I think only veteran dads will appreciate.
Okay.
So it takes a minute to hit, but
Joke grenade.
So I have challenged just with ADHD. I found out I had ADHD at age 41. So
Sure.
I was like, that was an interesting revelation, and I'm working with that. And so my joke is the only thing I'm a perfectionist about is parenting. You guys got it.
Yeah, great. Good luck with that one.
Beautiful. That's great.
Oh man, Jason, this has been Stephen. This has been great. I'm getting my dads mixed up.
It's okay. You can just, I really appreciate you guys. It's
Yeah.
very stimulating. I appreciate the whole setup, the environment, the beauty of this room.
Dormitory chic. Baby.
We will get out of the
I'm
dorm
holding on to that.
eventually. Yeah, we'll graduate at some point.
Graduate, yes. Wonderful. All right, well,
Awesome.
thanks. And again, thanks to the Flip Side for allowing us to utilize their theater to put this podcast out. So thank you, everybody.
All right. See you guys later.
You only get one spin around this rock. You only have so many days until it stops. And how you show up for your kids, well, that's your superpower. You might not know it now, but this is your Pappy Hour. Pappy Hour, let's talk it out, talk it out. What's it like? What's life all about? Oh, Pappy Hour, say your piece. Laugh at yourself, slap your knee.